Well, making change on farm can be difficult, particularly when you are managing profitability to make the environmental and, of course, human and animal benefits through some of the changes that are happening across many dairy farms across New Zealand. There's an organisation called Calm the Farm that help farmers in New Zealand transition to more of a regenerative mindset. And one of their very first case studies is Russell and Charlotte Hill, who began transitioning their Norsewood dairy farm in 2017. And those mindset adjustments along the way have actually had greater fulfillment and seen the results being maintaining profitability, but also benefiting from a better work-life balance and less stress. Sounds fantastic. They've also seen pastures recover quicker through drought, which is incredibly important in the Manawatu Whanganui region. And all this through shifting to once-a-day milking as well. So, how have they been able to reduce vet bills to 60%, increase the health and well-being of their people, the cows in their land, through a more holistic approach? Well, Russell joins us now. Russell, it's been a big 3 to 4 years for yourself, Charlotte, and your family.
Hi, Sarah. Yeah, no, we've been on an amazing journey for the last 4 years now on our regen journey, and it's pretty exciting to see what's happening and also where it's heading.
So milking 430 Friesian and Friesian cross cows, the process of converting to organic and the learnings you've had along the way, particularly in the face of what traditional dairy farming in New Zealand and out of the culture around how we dairy farm, was it a challenge, or was it all the tools that you needed there for yourself and Charlotte to support your journey?
Yeah, it definitely was a challenge and a bit of a mindset shift for us. Especially with doing the regen and then also going on to do the organics after that. But for us, it was all about our environment. And our environment starts with our water and soils, our animals and our people. And so that was something that we had a big focus on. And for us, it was just about reducing stress throughout that whole environment, and taking the pressure off our land and off our waterways and off our animals and also off our people. So, and by going down the pathway we have, that's enabled us to reduce that stress, especially with the once-a-day milking and just cutting back on our stocking rate, and just going down that regen pathway with having the pasture diversity, having more of a focus on our soil health, because everything starts within our soil. So for us, it's around creating healthy soil to create healthy plants, for that to then flow onto our cows, and then also to have that healthy environment for our people as well.
Let's talk about the diversity of pasture species. You sort of talk about it being cow salad with 9 or more legumes, grasses, nutrients and herbs all together. How do you get on with the success and yield of dry matter and the competing species within that sward to make up and give you the milk production you need to justify also once-a-day milking as well?
So with the pasture diversity, it's worked really well. It's because there's 9 plus species, and then we get other species that come back into it as well. And what that enables us to do is, at certain times of year, certain plants are thriving and others not so much. So that changes throughout the season. So what it's enabled us to do is to create a lot more resilience within our farming system. So when we're going through that late spring into early summer, we're able to push our rounds out to sort of 40, 45 and even up to 50 days. Whereas on our traditional ryegrass paddocks, we're unable to do that. And that just gives us a whole lot more flexibility in terms of being able to push feed ahead of us and not lose production. Like, we're not losing quality because we've got that balance of herbs and legumes and forbs along with all our grasses within that mix.
And I understand that it's dropped 200k off your feed bill and only adding more onto that end margin. especially when you're dropping to once a day milking. So the production has dropped. But how have you maintained profitability?
So we've maintained our profitability through cutting out all those extra costs, especially with feed. So instead of going in and cutting the silage and then feeding it out normally within sort of a month, which can happen on some farms, we are finding with the pasture diversity that mixes we're planting, we're able to utilise them basically instead of having to go in and feed out. So we're topping the cows up so we can take paddocks out for 50 or 60 days and strip graze them through those paddocks to hold our roundings out. And then that enables us to not be out there feeding out early. Enables us to really keep the cows well fed without having to go and start the tractor. Like it's harvesting with mouths rather than always harvesting with a machine.
And what's the flow-on effect been from cows that are not getting milked? Are they less stressed? What sort of impact is it having on fertility and the likes of, the general animal welfare and animal health benefits?
You've seen some massive benefits there, like just through observations. Just the cows, like you go to get the cows in the morning and they're still, most of them, 90% of them will still be sitting down and we don't go out to get them until about 6, 7 o'clock. So it's which is not a bad time to start for a dairy farmer.
I was going to say the health and well-being of your team would have only just improved off the back of that start time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Anthony Mills, who's part of our team, he's loving it. Like he's come from System 5 farms previous, and so it's taken him a little bit to adapt to it, but he just loves it. He said to me the other day, he just can't see himself going anywhere anytime soon. So it's just awesome for us, especially in the environment within the dairy sector at the moment with staffing, just that staff retention. So it's all around creating that right environment for staff, and he's just loving what he's doing at the moment, which is awesome.
And the big standout here is 60% drop in your expenditure on vet visits as well. It's incredibly inspiring, this case study. You can check out at calmthefarm.nz and check out the case studies there, reduction in synthetic fertilizers too as well, and what is looking like challenging times ahead and navigating it. Russell, just lastly, I'd like to sort of ask your advice for those who are listening or watching with, the rhetoric and the noise around the term regenerative, particularly in dairy farming, that it is possible to not drop profitability and can only holistically be better across the board. What do you say to those who are struggling with the confidence to take that risk, which they think may be a massive, too big a financial for them?
I think a big thing around all the regen at the moment is you've actually got to come to a farm that's doing it. So you've actually got to come and see it to believe it. That's what I always say to people. Just come and see it to believe it. Because that you can talk about it and give them all the figures and tell them all the benefits, but until they actually come and see it, they won't really believe it. And we've had that with other farmers that have got on board, that have been driving past and have seen what we've been doing and have, after a year or even 2 years, called in to see what's going on, and then they've made that shift and just loving the journey that they're now on.
So there you go, straight from the horse's mouth. Russell Heald farming with his wife Charlotte there in Northwood in the Manawatu Whanganui region, making changes for the benefit of themselves, their staff, the land, the cows, holistically creating a different future and making changes that they see fit. Now, calmthefarm.nz is where you can go to check out Russell and Charlotte's story, their figures around their business, as well as more case studies, and those transitioning to a more regenerative mindset to how they dairy farm here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. After the break, Aratu Forests have announced a change-making concept, a 90-year riparian native forestry scheme through Elands New Zealand. The CEO, Hugh Redford, will join us to explain how the scheme will not only create more permanent native forest buffers along waterways in Gisborne area, but also to be economically viable. Up next here on Sarah's Country.